What we're looking at in this video is input and output devices which are used for specific needs. And so we're going to be looking at the input devices and the output devices for various computer systems. So this computer system here is an ATM or automated teller machine or cash machine. And so we've got a number of input devices. First of all, over here there's the place where you put the card, and so there's a card reader. And that can work on a magnetic strip, so that would be a magnetic strip reader, or it can work on chip and pin, so it would be a chip reader. We've also got a number keypad, so that we can type in our PIN and the amount of money which we want. And there's also some buttons to the left and the right which are for selecting the amount of money we would like. Output devices from this machine, we've got the obvious output device of a screen or a display, which is probably going to be LCD or a TFT, and in some older ones it would be just a green CRT monitor. And we've also got the place where the money comes out. So this will be a cash dispenser, which will probably contain some actuators to make it work. And we've also got a small printer for printing receipts. So a fairly simple device. We can see that we've got several ways of inputting to it and several ways of outputting from it. Next device we're going to look at is check-in within an airport, so a check-in system. And our input devices and output devices are as follows. So inputs, we don't have too many inputs really. However, behind the desk, the person who's checking you in will have a number of input devices. They tend to have a computer there, so they'll be inputting with a keyboard and possibly with a mouse. They may potentially have something like an RFID reader for new passports to see that you are who you claim you are. And that's really all the input devices which they are given. Then we've obviously got a motor, which is the output device. So on here, once you put your bags on, once they've said that they'd like the bags to be checked in and they press the button to say check it in, then a motor will start on the check-in system. And there'll also be probably a small display which will display any money which you owe, or possibly the weight of the bags which you're putting on. And also there'll be a monitor display for the person who's checking you in again. And so a limited number of inputs and outputs, but most definitely there are input and output devices on a check-in system at an airport. And the final system which we're looking at is an underground or a subway system with electronically controlled gates. So and this is actually a fairly complicated computer system behind the scenes. As far as input and output devices go, they are fairly simple though. So we've got our input devices and we've got our output devices. And so our input device will be most commonly will be a magnetic strip card reader. However, more commonly now we have RFID readers. RFID stands for radio frequency ID, identification. So RFID readers, so we can just pop a card next to the reader and it can instantly read from that card. Magnetic strip, it has to run it through it when we insert it, and it will see and decode what is in the magnetic strip itself. So these two, either of these readers will tell it who we are and whether we're entitled to travel or not. The output devices, we do normally have some lights on the machines which say whether we can or can't go through them, so there will be an output device probably in the form of an LED display. And there'll also be the output which opens and closes the gate. So again, this isn't a motor because it's not going all the way around and just spinning, so it will be an actuator which is opening and closing the gate for us. There will also be some other input devices which tell when we've started to enter through the gate and then when we've exited at the other side. So running across here will be an invisible beam, and that will be an infrared. So it will actually be an infrared detector. So there'll be a small infrared beam put across, and then a detector will detect whether it can see the beam or not. If the beam gets cut, then it knows that we've started to walk through, and then when we start to walk out the other side, the other beam will be cut, and that can determine that the actuator then needs to close the gate. So probably 2 or 3 input devices, and at least one the actuator to open the gate, possibly 2 with an LED display as well.